We think of the Amish as plain and simple people, and by their outward appearance, wearing very simple clothes, living in simple homes. They're not driving flashy sports cars. They're driving a very plain horse and buggy. However, you certainly do have Amish that are quite wealthy, that are millionaires. This can happen in a couple different ways typically. Now, a lot of Amish are not in that boat. So don't get, I'm not going to try to give an impression that the Amish are secretly all super rich people, but you do have Amish that are quite wealthy. So the first example would be you can have Amish who own land worth millions of dollars. These are typically farmers that have really the bulk of their wealth tied up in this non-liquid asset of land. These are often farms that may have been in a family for generations and are passed down. The best example of this would be Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where the land prices have gotten extremely high. A lot of people, a lot of development there that has driven up the price of land in recent years and decades. So those are a lot of times multi-million-dollar farms. So you have that case where Amish have a lot of wealth, but it's tied up in the lands. Now, the second example where this can happen is business success. And this is where you're seeing more and more wealthy people among the Amish. This is kind of tied to the first point as well. Due to these land pressures in a number of Amish communities, not just Lancaster County, but other large communities, people are not able to farm as easily. So for decades now, you've had small business being a popular way for making a living among the Amish. The Amish typically have an 8th grade education, so they're not becoming lawyers and doctors and working in high-tech pursuits, although you may be surprised some Amish do understand quite a bit about tech and are quite brilliant at some things in terms of engineering and mechanics. But typically you're seeing things that are trades, that are manufacturing type businesses, that are things like woodworking, furniture making, cabinet shops, metal manufacturing, construction, carpentry, those types of things. Amish involved in some food businesses generally tend to have a lot of success in these businesses. I mean, there's different reasons for that. Some of that is the work ethic. Some of that is an emphasis on quality. Okay, some of that is in basically tapping into the resources of the community as well. Actually, I wrote a whole book about this, so I'm not going to get long-winded on it right here. But the point is that there definitely are Amish that have become millionaires and multimillionaires, in some cases due to business success. Amish that have this wealth, what are they doing with their wealth? Well, some buy land, some buy hunting land, some, of course, help their children to buy farms, things like stocks and other investment assets. So the Amish tend not to flaunt wealth, although even among the Amish, we may not notice these things as readily, but there can be maybe nicer buggies. Certainly you may notice this in the type of home. Now, Amish homes generally follow certain styles, but that's not always the case, and some Amish homes can definitely have a fancier appearance than others. Of course, the size of the property, how big of a nice of a barn they build, how nice of horses they have. There are definitely areas that the money goes to, but it's not going to be readily as visible. It's part of the reason behind having, say, uniform plain clothing style and the same types of buggies and generally the same types of, homes and styles of furnishings and things in a given community. This does help to preserve more of a sense of equality among members of the church. So you don't encourage as much, let's say, envy. That also encourages humility. It's not about being an individual and trying to stand out and show everyone in a kind of an obnoxious way how much money you've made. It's more about loving your brother, taking care of others in the community. That's another thing Amish will do that have money. A lot of the wealthier Amish will help out to a greater degree when there are, for example, medical bills in the community that need to be paid, because the Amish don't carry conventional medical insurance. They have some of their own internal plans in some communities, but in some cases you're going to have maybe needs that exceed what can be paid. So some of those guys are going to definitely be helping out with that. So there are Amish millionaires out there. You're just maybe not going to be able to think you can tell them as easily as you might think you can tell the non-Amish millionaires. So I hope that explains that. Thanks for listening. I do about 2 videos per week. If you'd like to stay in the loop for those, hit the subscribe button and then hit the notification bell. That will make sure you get all the notifications. Look forward to seeing you again soon.